Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jadesola. I don't know about you guys, but this year has been a roller coaster. It's been filled with ups and downs. And I also feel like this year has gone by so quickly. But I guess we say that every year, right? So, as usual, at the end of every year, I try to take stock of my year, and I try to pick certain lessons that I've learned in the year. And I thought to share with you the 22 lessons that I have learned in 2022. So just for context, I had a theme for this year, and the theme was do it afraid. Feel the fear, but do it anyways. And that was really the thing that was driving me all through this year, because I'm not going to say that this year has been all smooth sailing. It's been bumpy, but I've also gained a lot this year. So in no particular order, I'll say that maybe one of the first lessons I learned this year was to just be Nike. Just do it. Right? A lot of the times we overthink a lot of things that we want to do, and sometimes we don't even get started. And for me this year, even though I was afraid of so many decisions that I was taking, I eventually told myself, one, just following the theme that I had for the year, just do it afraid. Secondly, is like, if you don't try it, then you won't even know whether or not it's something that is for you or not. So yeah, I did so many things, and I'm grateful for that. I think the second lesson for me this year is consistency. Like, consistency is key. And I think with everything in life, you have to be consistent at whatever thing you're doing. To change your habits, you have to be very consistent. To achieve anything, you have to be very consistent at anything you're doing. There is that power of compound interest or reward that comes out of compounded efforts that you make towards something. And one of the huge things for me with consistency, when I was thinking about what I really learned from it, is it's okay to suck at the beginning of something when you're just starting out. And it's only with consistency that you get better at it. You know, if you're feeling like, hey, what you're doing is not great, or the quality of your output is not what you would like it to be, just be consistent and don't discourage yourself from moving forward with it, and you'll see the reward at the end of the day. Another thing I learned this year is that it's okay to be selfish. What I've realized is that a lot of the times I put other people first and I neglect myself. And I had a season this year of just pure selfishness. I focused on me, and there was nothing anyone would ask from me at that point that I would give back, to be fair, because I believe that you can't pour from an empty cup. And for me, it's such a big lesson that it's okay. And when I focused on myself, I did see a lot of the reward, and it was also one of the things that allowed me to be able to give back to my community, to my friends, to my circle, to my clients, just by focusing on me for a period of time. And it's totally okay to take out time, take out a period, and just say, you know what, this period is just for me. You don't owe anybody anything when you have to focus on yourself, really, at the end of the day. Another huge lesson that I would say that I learned this year is to pick my battles carefully. Like, there are times that things will happen to you and you just want to go fight it out. You just want to go address it. I found out that I need to expend my energy in areas where I'm likely going to get the best result out of it. And there's some things that are just not worth it. And it's not everything that you fight for. There's some things that you just let it be. And that even takes me to the other lesson that I learned this year, was like, it's okay to let things go. It's okay to let people go. I lost at least 3 vital relationships that I've built for years this year. I'm not gonna lie, it was quite painful to have to lose those relationships. It just got to a stage where I just knew that it was time to let go of it. And also the fact that when I was trying to hold on to some of those relationships, I had to really think about it. What am I gaining from here? What is it that I'm even fighting for? What am I trying to hold on to? And the moment I did an analysis of what I'm trying to hold on to, I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? Just let it go. Another lesson for me this year is just realizing that the things that get you to a stage may not necessarily be enough to keep you there. So on your journey as you're growing, the things that you did that got you to a particular stage, you may need to work harder or do other things in order to either keep yourself in that position or to even exceed that. It made me really think about what my former boss used to say: the reward for hard work is more work. There's always more room to grow. And for me, like, that was a huge lesson for me this year. Like, just realizing that I can stretch myself beyond what I even think that I have capacity for. Another lesson that I learned this year was everything in life is hard. Pick your hard at the end of the day. Just pick the one that you feel like it's okay for you to go through. But there's really nothing in life that is like super easy. Everything is hard, and you have to be the one to determine the one that you think that you want to go through, the hard that is suitable for you. It's either you want to go through the rigors of growing, or you want to go through the rigors of just being plain Jane, and at the end of the day, just pick the one that suits you. One other huge lesson I learned this year is that you only find the things that you're looking for. I remember when someone used to tell me then that, oh, if you're trying to buy a particular type of car, you realize that you start to see the car on the road every single time. And it's the same thing with the things that we're looking for. I've realized that a lot of the things that I achieved this year, it was because I went around looking for them, or I was preparing for them. And that allowed me to be able to see them because I was already prepared to receive them. When you put your mind to something, you're likely going to achieve it because you start to recognize the opportunities around you for those sort of things. This year, I did see a lot of things, and I did find a lot of things that I was looking for and I was preparing to find as well. The next lesson for me is that being alone can be a good thing. I did spend a good chunk of my 2022 by myself. There were days that I was like, have I spoken today? Because I really just spent a lot of time by myself. But I can tell you that the things that I spent my alone time doing, just trying to really focus on me and think through things and spend time building some of the things that I wanted to achieve for the year. I think it ended up being a really good thing. And sometimes I think that people associate being alone with something very negative. Even when I had the opportunities of being around people, I used to seek alone time because for me, that's the time that my energy is full and I'm also able to really try to figure out the things that I'm trying to figure out in my life. I really can't do that with too much distractions and noises around me. So being alone can be a good thing. One other lesson for me this year has been the power of collaboration. One of the things that happened to me very early this year was the opportunity of meeting some like-minded content creators as well as I was starting my journey. And a lot of the collaborations that I did with them has formed friendships and has also resulted in growth for me as an individual and also for my YouTube channel or my social media presence and things that I was trying to do with my personal brand. And I think for me, that is something that is huge. In as much as I love to spend time by myself, I also feel like there is always a place and time to work with people, to collaborate with people. And I did see a huge difference in some of the things that I was trying to do this year by collaborating with others, that I feel like if I didn't, have people to collaborate with, I probably wouldn't have achieved the growth that I achieved this year. One other lesson for me is that fear is good and it's okay to feel lost. So many times this year, I had moments. I still have the moments even right now, like just really thinking, like, what am I really doing? Or that I want to take certain steps and I'm still afraid. I think that fear would allow you to weigh the risks, allow you to take calculated risks. I also believe that fear is also a measure of how big your dream is. I actually feel like if you dream about something and you're not scared of the things you're dreaming about, maybe you're not dreaming big enough. And for me, I have leveraged fear this year. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that my theme for this year was do it afraid, because I realized that sometimes I talk myself out of doing things, but sometimes it's allowing me to also weigh certain things and also just set that benchmark that, hey, I think this is actually a big thing for me to be dreaming about. So another lesson that I had to relearn this year is just knowing that everybody's journey is different and unique to them. I think a lot of the times we find ourselves in situations where we feel like we want to compare ourselves with other people. We compare ourselves with our age mates, with our classmates, with people that we work with. We keep comparing ourselves with people. And you just need to realize that everyone's journey is very different. There's some people that would embark on a journey and in no time they have reached their destination. Whereas for some other people, it will take time, maybe because of their own unique situation, or maybe because, life just happening to them. It really doesn't matter. You can be inspired by other people, but you also need to recognize that your journey is very unique to you, and it's okay if things are not happening as quickly as you would have loved it to happen. Even though it's happening for people that you know really quickly, you just need to know the journey that you're on and recognize that you and the people you're comparing yourself with are totally different people, and it's okay for your journey to be faster or for your journey to be slower than every other person's. This next lesson is just like nobody owes you anything, right? So one of the things that made some of the relationships that I had to let go of this year very painful was you have that moment of after all I've done for you type of moment. But really, life is just the way it is. Nobody owes you anything. It's okay for you to feel like, hey, you sacrificed certain things for certain relationships and they didn't just pan out. But they don't have to repay you back with kindness. They don't even have to repay you back at all. So it's totally fine if, things don't get reciprocated because, nobody owes you nothing. Another lesson for me this year is just learning that it's okay not to want what everybody wants. I started to notice that there are certain people that I was talking to, just trying to motivate them to do better and everything. And I just felt like they were dragging. And I'm thinking, I want this huge thing for you, and then you're dragging yourself. And one day I just sat down and I'm like, what if they don't want the things that I want? What if this hustle culture, let's grow together, let's succeed together, let's try and look for ways to invest, to make more money, to start a business. What if it's not for them? It's okay for them to go like, you know what? I'm fine with whatever thing I'm earning. I'm fine with my 9 to 5 and I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I'm fine with just earning £1,000 a month. It covers my bills. I don't want to do anything else extra. It's totally fine for people to feel like they don't want to aspire to be more. And I don't have to feel bad like I am trying to push them and then they're not, trying to move in that direction. And even for me, I also realized that there are certain things that I want to do that people are like, that doesn't make sense. This is how everybody is moving. And I'm insisting that I want to go in a different direction. And it's okay for, me or any other person not to want what every other person wants as well. Again, this year, even though I already know this, but I think that more than ever before this year, I just continue to realize that family is everything. I think that this year, the relationship between myself and my siblings got a lot tighter. Tight before, like this year, it was really, really tight. We became closer. And I think for me, it was just like more of us just feeling like adults and bonding over adulting situations together. And just being there for one another, because those are the people that I believe that I can always count on, regardless of anything. This year, my family really, really stood by me, and I hope that I was able to do the same for you guys. If you're watching this video, shout out to you guys. It's been an amazing year with you guys, and I hope that would continue in 2023. One other huge lesson that I had to learn this year is just knowing that not now doesn't mean never. I did have some very huge disappointments this year, and some of them were so painful that I was like, why? But I had to realize that disappointments are part of growing up. And just because some of those things that I wanted did not happen at the time that I wanted them, doesn't mean that they will still not happen. It's just a pause, and not necessarily like a full stop. So it's totally okay if certain things didn't work out the way we planned to have them this year. We still have time before the end of the year, and there is always next year at the end of the day. Another lesson for me this year is just knowing that my why for doing certain things is more important than getting public approval. And I think that sometimes, we find ourselves in situations where we get caught up with, what will people think? What will people say? We want people to like us. We want people to, want to be accepted. And we end up just doing the things that we're not meant to do or we don't want to do, as opposed to focusing on why we actually want to take the steps that we're trying to take in the first place. So just realizing that, I think for me, I was okay with making certain decisions because I understand why I'm trying to take those decisions or why I'm trying to go in those directions, as opposed to what every other person thinks around me. And that is not to say that I don't value public opinion or people's opinion around the things that I'm trying to do. But at the end of the day, I realize that it is exactly what it is. It is an opinion and it's nothing more. This next lesson, almost ruined my year. You realize that I've been saying this since the beginning of my channel that I don't have a niche. I wanted to have a niche, right? But I just realized that I have multiple interests and it's totally okay for me to go in different directions for a while before I eventually settle for a niche. I am lucky that I have had the opportunities of doing so many things, and I've gained so much knowledge from doing a wide variety of things. And there's so many things that I want to talk about, but there are times that I'm just like, is this the kind of thing I'm meant to bring to my channel? Should I separate it? Should I talk about this? Will people resonate with this? And forgetting that I'm me, like I'm a very resourceful person, and I was exposed to doing so many things, especially when I had my 9-to-5, and also when I had my startups. I had to do so many things by myself, and there's hardly any topic that people are talking about that it doesn't feel like I know something about it. And I may look like you don't have a focus, and it's totally okay to have multiple interests if you have the capacity to juggle everything at once, great. If you don't have the capacity to juggle everything at once and you want to pick them one at a time, that's also totally fine. And if you change your mind, even if you niche down to a particular thing and you change your mind tomorrow, it's also totally fine at the end of the day. There are times that we find ourselves in these situations where we feel like, hey, we don't have a focus. But I think that in the midst of that chaos, there is some sort of focus and it's totally fine. The next lesson for me for 2022 is knowing that money can buy happiness. For the longest time, I have never been motivated by money. Like, I never used to negotiate my salary. I never asked for more. Money was never at the forefront of my mind. But I don't know what happened. Now, money is at the top of the list. It just gets to a stage where you don't want to go for shopping without punching your calculator. You don't want to plan a trip and then be calculating how much hotel is going to cost. You don't want to do certain things, help somebody out or buy something for yourself or invest in something without panicking. And I'm like, you know what? It's totally fine to want money. And there's so many things that money can solve for you, including buying you happiness. Looks apart, I just feel like for a lot of the things that we do, for how much hard work that we put into stuff, it's totally okay for you to want some monetary reward for them. And initially I used to feel bad about this, but now, child, I'm loving it. Another lesson for me this year is just learning again that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Someone like me who is hyper independent, it is very, very hard for me to ask for help. I've always just tried to figure things out on my own. And every year I try as much as possible to see how I can overcome it. Not like it's like a bad thing to be hyper independent, but there are times that, it's okay for you to ask people for help. After all, people come to me for help and I render it to them. So it's fine if you need help as well. Just don't feel entitled to it at the end of the day. And if people tell you no, it's also totally okay. One other thing for me this year, and I think I started to learn this towards the end of the year again, is health is wealth. I started to realize that this year my health was nowhere near the top of my priority list. I totally neglected my health and I'm having to pay the price right now. It doesn't make sense if you make all the money in the world and you don't have the health to enjoy it. So part of my priorities for next year is to just make sure that in as much as I'm focusing on the other things that I want to achieve in life, I also need to prioritize my health. So speaking in the line of health as well, the final lesson for me this year is rest. In the middle of the year, I realized that I had just been working without taking any form of break. And I didn't even know that I was tired. I didn't even know that I was burnt out. And it was only when I was forced to take some time off work and I realized that I slept for 2 days straight. I could barely get up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I was tired. So at every point in time, it's okay to just take a break and just breathe and not feel obligated to do anything. So those are the 22 lessons that I've learned this year. I'm curious to know the lessons that you've learned as well in 2022. I'm sure there's more on my list, but I've had to streamline them to the 22 that I've shared. The year is not over yet, so there's still lots to learn before the end of 2022. But I really hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And I'll see you next time. Bye.